Hey there. It is January 15th, 2023. My name is self-proclaimed the Deer Wizard. God bless you, and thanks for clicking on this video. Really appreciate it. Today I want to talk about a very complex topic, but I think I found a way to make it easy to put this in layman's terms and give you science terms and everything by a few links. I want to talk about that while I'm trying to get to food plot nutrition. So plants to, what I'm leading up to is getting what to put in food plots that are, nutrition or good to plant basically. But I think you're going to come to find out that nutrition comes from a different source other than food plots. Food plots are more attraction and supplemental feed, if you can kind of catch it. However, in some areas, especially if you have a lease or rent land or maybe don't have the space, open ground, food plots might come into handy for that. But that's what I want to talk about today. I really appreciate it, and we'll get started. All right, let's lay a foundation down. If the deer cannot reach what they're going to eat, we have a big problem. In this link, maybe you could go to it and we can go through it together. It's in the description below, but it's an extension out of Missouri.edu, publications G9487. So if you go there, stop the video, go there, and then I'm going to pretty much go through this. And in the meantime, right now I want to talk about, it talks about the deer nutrition requirements in the video, so I'm going to kind of handle that. First, I want to go through what's happening here, right here at Central Michigan, and on my 20 acres. The pictures that I put in the entrance of the video are this week. I think I had like over 50 pictures yesterday alone. It's cold, 20 degrees, 30 degrees. It has been sunny last couple days, which has been nice. I like the sun coming out. Most of the time, winters are pretty dark and dreary anyway, but it's nice when the sun pops out. And the deer were active. On my property, I do have a lot of woody browse, but they are eating it, and I am nervous about that, about them eating me out of woody browse, and they can overbrowse it, and then I don't have any. So then I have to fix that. It's mostly does and fawns. A lot of button bucks are hanging around, which is a great sign for me. I like that. Hopefully they stick around. If the mother is around, and here in the next few months, in May, when they start having their fawns, dropping their fawns, they could kick those button bucks out and overrun this area, and then, I'm kind of housing those button bucks for no reason. I'm not seeing any antlered bucks right now. They have probably moved on. The nutrition requirements right now between bucks and does, you're going to learn that in this article, but they're different, especially right now. So that's what's going on right now. Predators, I had a bobcat on the camera yesterday. Coyotes a couple times as early this week, but I got rabbits on camera, raccoon. I got to get rid of a few raccoon. I'd still like to go after those coyotes, and I think it's too late to go after the bobcat here in my area, so I won't be doing that. Okay, you have to forgive me because I'm going to be reading off my computer in front of me and also my notes. And we're going to be talking about protein, which is probably the most sought after. I want to put this all in layman's terms, because sometimes wildlife biologists and some of these articles and some things people talk about, we just don't know the terms. We don't know, the ease of it, basically. We need to it's a very complex subject, so it's hard to put in layman's terms, but I'm going to do my best. And this article that you're on, the Missouri article, is a very, very good one. I'm pretty much all in favor of this Missouri article. But I want to try to keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid. So, doe and buck require a different amount of protein and crude protein and phosphorus and other nutrients. Potassium being one of them. Calcium, of course. But the most overall natural vegetation is the overall most part of their what a deer eats. Natural vegetation that's already out there. But again, if they can't reach it, we got problems. So over 46% of a 100% deer diet is browse. What is browse? Leaves, buds, end of twigs. In this article, they have forbs, woody browse, mast, and grasses. Now, browse is 46%, forbs 24%, mast, which is nuts, blackberries, crab apples, grapes, hazelnut, oak, acorns, that's 11%. Grass is not a big part of it. It's under 4%. Row crops and stuff like that, farm fields, 4%. So that's kind of how I'm going to break this down. And then it also has got a bunch of... sorry about that, I'm getting a little lost because I had different notes and they don't really go with the article. But I want to kind of correlate what's going on right now, like what are they eating right now, but we have to go through all of this information before we can kind of get to food plot, what to plan food plots that are nutrition wise. And I will get there hopefully within the next episode or two, because I want to get there before food plot season in the spring. And what are they eating right now? Woody browse for the most part. Probably 90% by this time in January. And I think I've talked about the supplemental feeding last week, about the different bacteria in their gut. Like if you went out and threw some corn or carrots or hay that could be potentially harm. But woody browse, there are tons of bushes out there. Blackberry bushes, blueberry, dogwoods, elderberry, grapes, greenbrier, maples, oaks, aspen. All those are what deer are feeding on right now. And if they're out there feeding on, of course there's no snow right now where we're at, dead stuff, then we might have a little bit of an issue. Okay, protein requirements, or nutrition requirements, and protein is probably number one out there. And if you're looking to grow big antlers, first of all, you got to have healthy deer. Second, you got to have nutrition. And genetics. But genetics is tough because you got a buck and a doe. And a doe has to be healthier to carry that fawn. And then age. Age is probably, you're going to kind of come to find out after you read this article that, man, if I let my bucks get older and keep feeding these deers or the doe healthy, you're going to find out you're going to be getting larger bucks in the population just doing those two things. And bigger deer in general. Having the right amount of deer too. You can't have too many deer. And of course it's hard to extinct them, but if you have good habitat, you're going to have deer. You're going to have all wildlife as far as that goes. And if you get, have these things, but bucks, 16% protein, 17% protein, they're going to grow to their potential. Again, they have to grow, first of all, their body structure takes 4 years to fully develop. Then they can put more effort in that protein into their antler growth. Doe is a little different, and I've described this before in a couple of videos. Especially females, carrying fawns right now, their protein requirements due to pregnancy, especially in the last trimester, which is mostly all of April, some of March, is going to be different. And then after they have dropped their fawns, they require a lot of protein and they're eating all the time. And if they're not eating good stuff that has a lot of protein in it, or if there is lack thereof food, then you have a problem. There, in the hindsight, a buck will require more protein when his antlers start growing. So right now, bucks are probably just hanging out and eating a little bit. They're recovering from fall breed season. The antlers just kind of fall off because the new antler growth pushes them off. Sometimes if there is poor nutrition or if they're in poor health, they will fall off. Once their testosterone starts rising again in the spring, the antler growth starts and they'll require more protein, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, all that stuff, until the antler's hard, which is about September because of daylight. When the daylight shortens, that's when the antler's hard, testosterone rises even further. Then, after their antler's hard and the velvet has fallen off, their protein requirements and nutrition overall requirements aren't as high because they've done growing their antlers. And if they're 4 years or more, it's even better. The following year, all of that food is not going to grow their bones and their internal structure. It's going to grow all of their antlers. So it's a pretty amazing process, obviously very complex too. There's a nice chart in here about like fawn requirements about protein level. They pretty much focus on protein. Fawns, yearlings, adults, adult females, adult males. And their different ages of different times, activity level, protein level, what their requirement. But what are they eating? Also, there's a seasonal requirement, like what are they requiring right now as far as, and we just kind of talked about that. And there's different, so greenbrier in the winter, 5 to 12%. How can you tell what you have out in your woods? You could grab some samples, the ends of twigs. You could grab, well, there is no leaves out, but you can grab some of these twigs, and if you see what deer are eating on, if you go out there and view deer and go, oh, I wonder what they're over there eating on, and grab it, and you can send it into a lab. I sent in a lot of stuff to Michigan State University, and then I just found out this week, the other day, the Michigan State University soil lab and their plant lab, maybe their plant lab is still open, but the soil lab has ceased operations. They're done. So I have to find a new soil sample place. I'd like to stay within Michigan or close to it. I used CLC labs in the past, in the very beginning, but I gotta look at cost and I gotta look at shipping, and usually turnarounds are pretty much all the same, so I gotta look at all that stuff. If you've read this article and have studied it a little bit, I'm gonna kind of get away from it, and hopefully you have read it. Then I can kind of talk about, maybe correlate some things. So how are we getting these things? How are we getting all these different woody browse and forbs, ragweed, you've seen ragweed, dandelion, all these things that are growing in the growing season that just happen to be there and happen to be needed at the time of all these, the deer, at the time the deer need them, is pretty kind of like, oh yeah, that makes sense because that's how the world goes around. Humans in the winter can adapt, and that's what deer have done, is adapt to the less amount of food. They go into a kind of a controlled starvation. I've mentioned this before. What can we do as a land manager, a land owner, to get the deer to eye level? Well, number one is cutting trees, unfortunately. Cutting trees, You get money for them. The stump sprouts off maple alone is like a mineral stump. I follow MSU Deer Lab. It's a Mississippi State Deer Lab, and I've got links coming up too they've got a series out as well, and I'll put links to that too because I want you to watch those links, and I'm just kind of passing on information here. It's pretty tough for me to sit here and explain it, but I'm trying to explain what they're talking about and how to get there, like the ways to go about it. The first thing we go to is food plots, and food plots I'm a food plot fan. That's my number one, that's how I started my business, with the food plots, and that's one of the biggest things people can do because they don't want to cut. But you gotta say, okay, if you don't want to cut, food plots are only gonna take you so far. You're probably still gonna be frustrated. You're still gonna be frustrated with seeing deer, because of the more pressure that you put on and the less amount of habitat. They're gonna go to where the better habitat is, to where they're living and not being disturbed, and they can still have a meal. They'll always find the food plots. The food plots are attractive and very nutritional. But if you're not getting things in a deer world into a deer's eyes, and I've talked about this before in videos, what we see out in the woods is not what a deer sees, or deer don't really care what they see and how it looks. They want food at a deer level, and they want a lot of it, and they want cover. And hinge cutting is one of those tools. I tell people, if you want to go feed the deer right now, get your chainsaw out and go start cutting. But if you don't want to cut trees, don't complain about not being able to feed the deer, or not having very many deer, or the deer leaving. Here's one probably last take I'll probably do on this is, when you're not seeing very many deer during hunting season, it's probably because of pressure. If they're on your trail cameras at night, it's because of pressure. Not maybe just by you neither, it's by other hunters as well, your neighbors. However, if you have a good habitat that is thick, that the daylight is getting to the forest floor, deer are going to allow you to be there too, and you can coexist with those deer and still have them there, because you've created an area that they don't want to leave, and they'll tolerate humans. But if they're leaving and coming back at night, or you're seeing deer sporadically, especially those older bucks, they don't like none of that, then you have to cut. You have to make it thicker. You have to create those daylight areas to the forest floor to get all of that stuff coming up. A lot of times we have leaves down that aren't allowing anything to come up. Deer want to pick the very end of the very youngest spots. And if they're not there, they're going to pick down. But if they're not there, they're going to go somewhere else to find that. And if they are picking second, third, fourth, year growth or older growth, you don't have enough growth, or you have too many deer, and you got to do something about it. So I'm going to end the video there. I've rambled a lot. I didn't really get to do exactly what I wanted, and I apologize for it. Hopefully, at least you can just look at these links. They'll explain it a lot better than I do. Again, I'm trying to get to the food plot, what to plant for food plots that are pretty nutritious too, and to attract the deer and grow throughout the hunting season. Take a look at those graphs and all that other information. And I will leave you with, we are the deer managers in this state. We are the ones out there managing the habitat, shooting the deer. Take a look at those links. Thanks for watching. It was a pretty bocce episode. I'm trying to get to these to where I can communicate better and get you guys informed the best way possible. So God bless you. God bless our troops. God bless the USA. Take a look at those affiliate sponsors as well, and see you next time.